What is up, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here from the Back to 12 podcast, here to break down the West region of the NCAA tournament with the #1 overall seed in the Gonzaga Bulldogs, Mark Few's crew from Spokane. But first, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that big red button right there and turn it gray for daily March Madness videos. I'm going to be keeping you up to date with all of the madness from the latest news, rumors, and I'll even give my predictions because let's be honest, I'm not going to get them all right, but here is how I see the West region playing out. Gonzaga, the #1 overall seed, will play Georgia State. The 16 seed, of course, I am taking the Bulldogs to win that one. Now, Boise State against an interesting team in the Tigers of Memphis. Remember, Memphis, a highly ranked team coming into the year in the AP top 25, have loads of NBA talent that's projectable to the lottery or the first round, but haven't lived up to expectations under Penny Hardaway so far. That being said, I think they beat Boise State and have a matchup with the Bulldogs of Gonzaga. We'll talk about that in just a minute. On to the 5-12 matchup where we have Uconn versus New Mexico State. I am going to take the Aggies of New Mexico State to beat the Huskies of Uconn and have the 12 beat the 5. It's happened in virtually every year of the tournament since it expanded to 64. So give me New Mexico State, the Aggies, who are one of the best teams in the country. They did have one of the biggest slip-ups in college basketball history, losing in a game that they were favored by over 27.5 points to Chicago State earlier in the year. But I think they've gotten back on track, and they will beat Uconn in the first round of the NCAA tournament. In a matchup that I really find intriguing because I think both of these teams are really good, and that is the 4-13 matchup in the West. That is Arkansas and Eric Musselman's crew from Fayetteville facing off against Vermont. And for those that don't know anything about Vermont, they're legit. This is going to be a dogfight with the Razorbacks. And I think when you look at this, I think the Razorbacks have a little bit just too much SEC athleticism there. But I think this is going to be a very close game. And do not be surprised if Vermont does beat Arkansas. But I'm not going to see it that way right now. I'm picking the Hogs to beat Vermont. On to the 6-11 matchup. It will be Alabama, the Crimson Tide, against either the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers or the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish will be facing off in a play-in matchup to see who will play Nate Oates and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Either way, I'm picking Alabama, but I will say this. If Rutgers wins that game over Notre Dame, don't be surprised if the Scarlet Knights give a run and really just give a lot to Alabama and potentially upset the Crimson Tide in the first round of the NCAA tournament, but I will pick the Crimson Tide in this one. As for the 3-14 matchup, you have the Texas Tech Red Raiders, led by first-year head coach Mark Adams and Bryson Williams, a unanimous All-Big 12 selection for the first team, against Montana State from the Big Sky Conference. Currently, Texas Tech is favored by 14.5. That line opened up at 16.5. Give me Texas Tech. I think that defense travels, the #1 defense in the country, according to KenPom and multiple metrics out there. Give me the Texas Tech Red Raiders to easily advance in that matchup. As for the 7-10 matchup, it is his time of the year, right? Coach Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans against Davidson. I don't think it's his time of the year much longer. I have Davidson beating Michigan State. The 10 seed beats the 7, and Davidson moves on to the second round of the NCAA tournament. You might be asking, RC, who's the 2 seed in this region? Well, it's Duke. Coach K, in his final hurrah as head coach of the Blue Devils, will take on Cal State Fullerton in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And for me, yeah, it's pretty easy. I'm taking the Duke Blue Devils in this one. But we'll start at the bottom now. Duke against Davidson. And I have Davidson pulling off the upset and beating the Duke Blue Devils in the round of 32. Davidson advances to the Sweet 16 for the first time since they had this guy named, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think a lot of people that watch YouTube or really basketball in general know about this guy named Steph Curry. So it's probably not worth mentioning, but that's the first time since they had Steph Curry. That's how I see it. I have Davidson ending Coach K's career and moving on to the Sweet 16. Then you have Texas Tech, the 3 seed in the West, against Alabama out in San Diego. Give me the Red Raiders in this one with that top-ranked defense. Alabama has proven this year that they can beat great teams. They have, and they have beaten Gonzaga, one of the few teams that can say that. But Alabama is one of those teams that is probably the streakiest Power 5 team in the tournament, where they are either on or they are off, and there is no in between. I think Texas Tech makes them have an awful day offensively, and let's be honest, Alabama ain't playing a lick of defense under Nate Oates. It's just the truth. I have Mark Adams advancing to the Sweet 16 in his first year as the Red Raiders head man. As for the Arkansas and New Mexico State matchup, the 4 versus the 12, give me the Razorbacks in this one. Again, I'm not going completely chalk here, but I really like the Razorbacks in this one. I think that the Razorbacks are one of the most underrated teams in the country, with Katie Notre, one of the best guards in the country. And then you have Williams in the front court as well. 2 really good guys in pick and roll, and Eric Musselman knows how to use the pick and roll, and they use it to their advantage. I think Arkansas ends the potential for a Cinderella run for the Aggies from New Mexico State in the round of 32, and they advance to the Sweet 16 for the second year in a row. As for Gonzaga and Memphis, I will say this. I think the Memphis Tigers are the only 9 seed that I could see beating Gonzaga in this tournament. Reason being is what I mentioned earlier, that they have a ton of NBA talent. Now, it's just, can they prove it? And this is the biggest moment in terms of potentially rising their stock. There is nothing that will help them more than pulling off the upset of the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. That being said, I am going to pick Mark Few and the Gonzaga Bulldogs, but I will say this. This game is going to be close. This will be a 1 or 2 possession game because of free throws late. I think Memphis and Penny Hardaway hang around, but in the end, Chet Holmgren and Drew Timme are just a bit too much. Now you have Gonzaga against Arkansas in the Sweet 16. Give me the Bulldogs of Gonzaga to advance and be 1 step away from going back-to-back in terms of going to the Final Four. Now it's Texas Tech in Davidson. And I am taking the Red Raiders to win that one and advance to the Elite 8 for the second time, technically the 3rd time in 5 years. Just unprecedented type success for the Red Raiders. And that means we will have a rematch of just 3 years ago in 2019 in Anaheim, California, where the Texas Tech Red Raiders beat the Gonzaga Bulldogs 3 versus 1, then 2. Now it's 3 versus 1 in the West. Unfortunately, if you're a Texas Tech fan, I have Gonzaga beating the Red Raiders and advancing to their 2nd straight Final Four in winning the West region. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I think Texas Tech is going to give them a dogfight in the Elite 8, but in the end, Chet Holmgren and Drew Timme are just a bit too much for the Texas Tech Red Raiders when it's all said and done. Let me know who you have winning the West region, though. You got Gonzaga? Am I crazy for thinking Duke will lose to Davidson? Let me know down in the comments below, but most importantly, hit that big red button to stay in the know all month long on everything March Madness and NCAA tournament related. I will be giving you game picks by the week and breaking down games that may shock some people. I know that the Davidson upset of Duke probably shocked a lot of people in this video. I'm RC Maxfield for the Back to 12 podcast. Once again, reminding you, hit that big red button to stay in the know all month long on the 2022 NCAA tournament.